In typography, a typeface is a set of one or more fonts, each composed of glyphs that share common design features. Each font of a typeface has a specific weight, style, condensation, width, slant, italicization, ornamentation, and designer or foundry. For example, ITC Garamond bold condensed italic means the bold, condensed width, italic version of ITC Garamond. It is a different font from ITC Garamond condensed italic and ITC Garamond bold condensed, but all are fonts within the same typeface. ITC Garamond is a different typeface from Adobe Garamond or Monotype Garamond. There are thousands of different typefaces in existence, with new ones being developed constantly. The art and craft of designing typefaces is called type design. Designers of typefaces are called type designers and are often employed by type foundries. In digital typography, type designers are sometimes also called font developers or font designers. Every typeface is a collection of glyphs, each of which represents an individual letter, number, punctuation mark, or other symbol. The same glyph may be used for characters from different scripts, e.g., Roman uppercase A looks the same as Cyrillic uppercase and Greek uppercase alpha. There are typefaces tailored for special applications, such as map-making or astrology and mathematics. The term typeface is frequently confused with the term font. Before the advent of digital typography and desktop publishing, the two terms had more clearly understood meanings. Terminology. In professional typography, the term typeface is not interchangeable with the word font, because the term font has historically been defined as a given alphabet and its associated characters in a single size. For example, 8-point Caslon italic was one font, and 10-point Caslon italic was another. Historically, fonts came in specific sizes determining the size of characters, and in quantities of sorts or number of each letter provided. The design of characters in a font took into account all these factors. As the range of typeface designs increased and requirements of publishers broadened over the centuries, fonts of specific weight and stylistic variants have led to font families, collections of closely related typeface designs that can include hundreds of styles. A font family is typically a group of related fonts which vary only in weight, orientation, width, etc., but not design. For example, Times is a font family, whereas Times Roman, Times Italic and Times Bold are individual fonts making up the Times family. Font families typically include several fonts, though some, such as Helvetica, may consist of dozens of fonts. The distinction between font and typeface is that a font designates a specific member of a type family such as Roman, boldface, or italic type, while typeface designates a consistent visual appearance or style which can be a family or related set of fonts. For example, a given typeface such as Arial may include Roman, bold, and italic fonts. In the metal type era, a font also meant a specific point size, but with digital scalable outline fonts this distinction is no longer valid, as a single font may be scaled to any size. The first, extended, font families, which included a wide range of widths and weights in the same general style, emerged in the early 1900s. Starting with ATF's Cheltenham, with an initial design by Bertram Grosvenor Goodhue, and many additional faces designed by Maurice Fuller Benton. Later examples include Futura, Lucida, ITC Officina. Some became superfamilies as a result of revival, such as Linotype Syntax, Linotype Universe, while others have alternate styling designed as compatible replacements of each other, such as Compatal, Generis. Typeface superfamilies began to emerge when foundries began to include typefaces with significant structural differences, but some design relationship, under the same general family name. Arguably the first superfamily was created when Maurice Fuller Benton created Clearface Gothic for ATF in 1910, a sans serif companion to the existing Clearface. The superfamily labeled does not include quite different designs given the same family name for what would seem to be purely marketing, rather than design, considerations. Caslon Antique, Futura Black and Futura Display are structurally unrelated to the Caslon and Futura families, respectively, and are generally not considered part of those families by typographers, despite their names. Additional or supplemental glyphs intended to match a main typeface have been in use for centuries. In some formats they have been marketed as separate fonts. In the early 1990s, the Adobe Systems Type Group introduced the idea of expert set fonts, which had a standardized set of additional glyphs, including small caps, old-style figures, and additional superior letters, fractions and ligatures not found in the main fonts for the typeface. Supplemental fonts have also included alternate letters such as swashes, dingbats, and alternate character sets, complementing the regular fonts under the same family. However, with introduction of font formats such as OpenType, those supplemental glyphs were merged into the main fonts, relying on specific software capabilities to access the alternate glyphs. Since Apple's and Microsoft's operating systems supported different character sets in the platform-related fonts, some foundries used expert fonts in a different way. These fonts included the characters which were missing on either Macintosh or Windows computers, e.g., fractions, ligatures or some accented glyphs. The goal was to deliver the whole character set to the customer regardless of which operating system was used. The size of typefaces and fonts is traditionally measured in points. Point has been defined differently at different times, but now the most popular is the desktop publishing point of 1/72 in. When specified in typographic sizes, the height of an M-square, an invisible box which is typically a bit larger than the distance from the tallest ascender to the lowest descender, is scaled to equal the specified size. For example, when setting Helvetica at 12 point, the M-square defined in the Helvetica font is scaled to 12 points or 1/6 in. Yet no particular element of 12-point Helvetica need measure exactly 12 points. Frequently measurement in non-typographic units will be of the cap height, the height of the capital letters. Font size is also commonly measured in millimeters and QS and inches. History. Type foundries have cast fonts in lead alloys from the 1450s until the present, although wood served as the material for some large fonts called wood type during the 19th century, particularly in the United States. In the 1890s, the mechanization of typesetting allowed automated casting of fonts on the fly as lines of type in the size and length needed. This was known as continuous casting, and remained profitable and widespread until its demise in the 1970s. The first machine of this type was the linotype machine, invented by Ottmar Mergenthaler. During a brief transitional period, photographic technology, known as phototypesetting, utilized tiny high-resolution images of individual glyphs on a film strip. A high-intensity light source behind the film strip projected the image of each glyph through an optical system, which focused the desired letter onto the light-sensitive phototypesetting paper at a specific size and position. This photographic typesetting process permitted optical scaling, allowing designers to produce multiple sizes from a single font. Although physical constraints on the reproduction system used still required design changes at different sizes, for example, ink traps and spikes to allow for spread of ink encountered in the printing stage. Manually operated photo composition systems using fonts on film strips allowed fine kerning between letters without the physical effort of manual typesetting, and spawned an enlarged type design industry in the 1960s and 1970s. By the mid-1970s, all of the major typeface technologies and all their fonts were in use. Letterpress, continuous casting machines, phototypepositors, computer-controlled phototypesetters, and the earliest digital typesetters, bulky machines with primitive processes and court outputs. From the mid-1980s, as digital typography has grown, users have almost universally adopted the American spelling font, which has come to primarily refer to a computer file containing scalable outline letterforms, in one of several common formats. Some typefaces, such as Verdana, are designed primarily for use on computer screens. Digital type. Digital type became the dominant form of type in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Digital fonts store the image of each character either as a bitmap in a bitmap font, or by mathematical description of lines and curves in an outline font, also called a vector font. Bitmap fonts were more commonly used in the earlier stages of digital type, and are rarely used today. When an outline font is used, a rasterizing routine renders the character outlines, interpreting the vector instructions to decide which pixels should be black and which ones white. Rasterization is straightforward at high resolutions such as those used by laser printers and in high-end publishing systems. For computer screens, where each individual pixel can mean the difference between legible and illegible characters, some digital fonts use hinting algorithms to make readable bitmaps at small sizes. Digital fonts may also contain data representing the metrics used for composition, including kerning pairs, component creation data for accented characters, glyph substitution rules for Arabic typography and for connecting script faces, and for simple everyday ligatures like Florida. Common font formats include TrueType, OpenType and PostScript Type 1, while Metafont is still used by TeX and its variants. Applications using these font formats, including the rasterizers, appear in Microsoft and Apple computer operating systems, Adobe Systems products and those of several other companies. Digital fonts are created with font editors such as FontForge, RoboFont, Glyphs, FontLab's TypeTool, FontLab Studio, Fontographer, or Asia Font Studio.